What's up, guys? So I figured I'd do a long-term test review. I kind of do these once a year, but we're on the 6-year anniversary of me buying this thing. I figured I'd talk a little bit what it started, some of the mods that are on it, and some of the issues that I had and the issues I didn't have. So first of all, it's a 2019 S model. So it started life out as a gray and black tank panels. Obviously swapped on the R tank panels, but we'll get to the bodywork in a minute. But starting up front, we have our Roland Sands Super Hooligan 17-inch wheels off a 2024 bike, I believe. But you can swap 17s on your 2019 bike as long as it's from a 23 plus, because it's got the towing ring. To match the 17s, we went with carbon fiber fender, and then we also went with the Olin suspension off the carbon. Moving up here, we got our Raximo levers. This one oddly is fading more than this one, which is strange because they were bought at the exact same time. We have a Renthal medium compound gray grips. We have our Kellerman Auto turn signals down here, as you can see, quite bright. Basically what I did was I made my own little brackets and just bought another set of lowers and moved them up to the top. Put that right in there. Up here we have our shift light. This comes from Jack Cabrera, I believe his last name is. This is a plug and play shift light for the FTR. There's a little digital screen under here that you can program for when it comes on and off. It's a pretty neat little piece. Moving over here, we have our 210 Speed Lab titanium bolt cut. Moving over here, we have our Peak Designs cell phone mount with vibration dampener, and it's also a wireless charging pad. Continuing up here, we have our CRG lane splitter. This is the EXO model, so it has these little cutouts in it. This thing is really nice. You only need one of them because it is convex mirror, so when you're looking over here, you can actually see over there. Here we have our placard. This is off a championship edition. I think it was 2022 this came out, this placard. You can buy this off Indian and just pull your old placard off and put this one on. We did a little bit of modification to the bezel here. As you can see, the air box is open down there, just in front of the filter. Moving back, we have our Smelly Dog keyless fuel cap. Nice billet piece here. We have our tracker seat. I had tried a couple different seats. I prefer the tracker seat mainly because it takes the weight off your tailbone and kind of shifts you forward, and it's kind of narrow up here. Down here we have our Cox Racing radiator guard, and then we have our 2022 Aero Kit, 22 Plus Aero Kit. Moving over here, we have our Samco hoses. This is a nice silicone hose kit that replaces everything. As you remember, there's a recall for this hose right here. That got rid of that recall hose, made things easier. We have Roland Sands sliders. And down here, obviously, we have a belly pan that's still a work in progress. We have our S&S case guards, our S&S chain saver. We have our Translogic quick shifter that sits right here. So notice it's not down here because when I put this on, I was running the wires through and I made them too tight, and as soon as I downshifted, it popped the wire out of the sensor. So I just haven't bought a new sensor yet. That was all my fault. But the Translogic shifter works great. Here's all the harnesses for the quick shifter and the shift light. We have our super light sprocket with a DID X-ring chain. Our Indian motorcycle gears rear sets are down here. You can't buy these anymore, but you can buy the Gills brand. And then we have our 46 tooth super light sprocket. And up here we have our toast place bracket with, again, Kellerman auto bullet signals and then little plate bolts here. So this is the 180 55 17-year tire. When I initially swapped the 17s, I had a 180 or 190 55 on it, and I loved it. And then I was experimenting with it, and I went to a 190 50, hated it. Put that on my wife's bike, and I took this back on here. I did paint these black, my towing rings black, just kind of clean them up a little bit. Then coming over here, we have our Olin rear shock. moving forward, gills rear sets again. A bunch of people had an issue where this cap was coming off from their heel hitting it. What I did was I took it, hard to see, but I drilled a little hole in there. I safety wired it around and clipped right here, so this cannot come off. Over here we have a PSR oil cap. I believe this is off of Ducati, but it fits perfectly fine. Again, and the case saver down here. And here you can see the belly pan, what I had to do to make it fit. Like I said, still work in progress. I still have to finish this and get it painted, obviously. But I did have to trim a little bit and then cut a hole out here for your stock oil cooler. Because the oil coolers the race bikes use sit up here, and you can't use it with the Toast exhaust because this bend comes out too far. So you have to run this oil cooler if you want to run this exhaust. Same thing with the coolant hoses up here. Down here we have our gills front sliders, and then I forget these spools. It's just your typical 8mm spool, no name. And then obviously the piston resistance, the Toast high mount exhaust. It doesn't stick out that far. I mean, obviously the S&S ones do actually stick out a little bit farther, so they do kind of push your leg out. This one they kind of tucked in as far as they could, and you don't really have that much issue with your right control. What I did was I took these shields off and put gold foil back in behind there. So I mean, I've been riding, and it's not that bad. Let's see what else we got. So issues. So this tail light is not cracked, but it is pop marked to hell. Same thing with all this down here. I'm gonna blame that for running. I was running, I think, an RS11 Bridgestone super sticky tire, and these tar and chip roads out here, we're just picking everything up and completely peppering it. Screen delamination, I got it. You see, it's starting to do it right down there. It's not the screen protector. I took it off and just to verify, and then put the other one back on. But I've had the screen protector on this thing since India put out that service bulletin. So what I did was, I mean, obviously I'm 4 years out of warranty. So what I did was, there's a guy on eBay selling these screens for 350 bucks. So I just grabbed one of those. So once this actually starts getting worse and up into the screen, I'll switch it. But for now, just gonna rock with it. Sometimes people have gotten lucky opening a case with Indian and their dealership, and they'll do a Goodwill, or they'll cover half the cost or something like that. But even half the cost, they're almost $1,300 new. So I figured for a new in-box one, 350 bucks wasn't too bad. Rear master cylinder. I had the rear master cylinder fail on me. It was a super spongy brake. No matter how much you bled it, nothing would make it better. Out of experimentation, I adjusted this plunger a little too far, went on a spirited run, overheated my brakes, applied the brakes, caught my rotor on fire, caught my brake pads on fire, warped the rotor really bad. And then, if you remember on the 2019s, the brake sensor was right here. It blew that sensor up. So what I did was put a new rotor on. I took the opportunity to upgrade to a 2020 Plus sensor that actually mounts right here, and it goes into here and plugs into your ABS module and gets rid of the sensor back there. And yeah, other than the factory tune that everybody knows about, so it's right when it was new, I did buy the Lloyd's PV3 tune, and then eventually just kept progressing as he progressed, made the tunes better and better, and now we're on the V6 ECU flash, and it's by far the best tune I've ever had on this bike. The battery in this lasted about 2 years. Then I upgraded to the Noco NLP14, I believe it is. And that's been phenomenal on this thing. And yeah, those are really the only issues that I've had with this bike. Obviously, I've taken the spark plugs out, replaced them at the 10,000 mile interval and 20,000 mile interval. I checked my valve lash. I think it was at 15,000 miles when I had the bike apart, and the valve lash was all perfect, so I probably won't check that until I hit close to 30,000 miles. I'm a little over 20 right now. The coolant was already obviously flush when I put new hoses on it. The brake lines and everything are flush when I obviously blew that one out, so then I flushed the fronts. But so far, this has been an extremely reliable bike. Super fun. And yeah, you can grab a leftover 2024 right now, and this same spec, like not the top of the line carbon, but like the S spec, for I think out the door for like 11 grand right now, which is crazy cheap. Obviously the carbon's a little bit more when you get the aluminums. yeah, I'm super happy with it. I don't see this bike leaving my garage anytime soon, just because of the value of it and how much fun I have on it. So let's hear how good that NOCO battery starts. Obviously this does a little self-test whenever you turn it on. And I don't have it neutral. So there you have it. If you got any questions, I'll put some links in the description below from when I did the 17-inch conversion, when I did the brake issue, obviously the exhaust. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Probably do another update in another year.